Welcome, everybody. Just waiting a few minutes for some of our guests to come in, and then we'll kick off. See numbers cropping up. Okay, it's 5 past. We're already 5 minutes late, so I'll kick off. So thanks to everyone who's joined us today. Thanks for our panelists. Welcome to this year's Women in Geospatial event for International Women's Day. Just so you know, today's event is recorded and is live streamed on YouTube, on the YouTube channel of Women in Geospatial. I think someone will post the link on the chat, but obviously if you're on YouTube, you should find us already. So my name is Olive Powell. I'm your host today. I'm currently the head of geography and geospatial at the Office for National Statistics, which is the UK National Statistic Office. I'm one of the co-founders of Women in Geospatial and former director. So it's with great pleasure that I'm here today to host this session. So welcome to all. We hope you enjoy it. This is an inclusive community, so we welcome women, transgender, binary, and even men. So, obviously because we want everybody to play their part in making the geospatial industry inclusive. Which leads me to the theme of this year, International Women's Day, which is Inspire Inclusion. And to bring it to the theme to life, the team has put together a fantastic event, bringing together and showcasing 4 fantastic women and use cases, and dotted around the world. And they're all using geospatial for societal inclusion. So before I hand over to our first speaker, I'd like to introduce Josna Budidetti, who's one of our newcomer director in the Women in Geospatial Board, and she's going to give you an intro about the organization. So over to you, Josna.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Olive. I'm super excited to be here presenting to all of you. It's been 1 month now since I joined as director at Women in Geospatial. I'm very happy to present to all of you the organization. Give me 1 second. Perfect. So, very quick intro about me before I jump into Women in Geospatial. My name is Jyotsna. I am the new director here, along with Julia and Sabrina. We are the 3 directors now. And today, my background is really in geospatial, combining machine learning as well as space. So, here with Geospatial, welcome everyone on this International Women's Day. We, as you know, are a professional network for women and non-binary and transgender people in the geospatial domain. For us, what is most important is to be able to create a geospatial community where all of us can thrive. And we are able to do that thanks to many of our activities by inspiring each other, learning from each other, uniting us, learning whether you are in a different country, in a different city, in a completely different industry. We are helping each other unite, and also by empowering each other in whether it's learning, advocacy, or any other thing. So here are, through these 3 pillars, we aim to bring together a community of geospatial professionals to create a safe space for each other. We have grown quite a bit in the past few years, starting from 2019, thanks to our 3 founders. From a few hundred people to today, we are over 5,000 people, and it is growing really, really fast. And we thank you, all of you. If you haven't already joined, you should. And we are all coming from 149 countries. So, well, hopefully next year when I come back to you, we will have covered the rest of the countries as well. Some of the activities we are very proud of that we have initiated in the last few years and is helping our community grow and empower and inspire each other is through our community building activities that we are doing, our mentorship program. Hopefully, if you haven't been part of it, you should try it for the coming year. And also many of the career opportunity, the events and career development event workshops that we do. As you can see, we've had some very good responses from many of our community members that we've been able to help them grow professionally, personally, help them meet many inspiring women and non-binary people that inspired them in the geospatial sector, and also help them get new jobs, grow in their professions, and also learn from each other. So this is what we really strive for, and hopefully we will see many such more stories going forward. And if you, like I said, if you haven't already joined the network, this is how you can join us. We are on Twitter, LinkedIn, Slack. Slack is the best way for us to connect with each other. So you can go ahead and join our community today. The very important aspect of our community is that it is completely volunteer run, which means all the activities, all the mentorship programs, events, workshops, coaching, leadership coaching, all of those activities that we are doing are completely done by volunteers, managed by volunteers, and no funding has been so far coming in. And that is something we need to change, because now we have grown quite big for us to sustain that way. And this is where we need your help to grow and make our community, make our activities reach many more people. And for this, please donate. Here is the link. You should have it also in our chat. Here is a QR code, and we are hoping to use this fundraising to increase and amplify our activities, whether it is to help you get your next job, learn from each other, learn to become a better leader in the community as well. Well, that's it for me. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Jyotsna. And so without further ado, I'll pass the floor to Laura Fieselman. So Laura is the head of operation at Salient Predictions. Salient is a S2S, meaning seasonal to sub-seasonal weather forecasting startup with climate resiliency as its mission. She's joining us from North Carolina in the United States, and she has multiple degrees. She began a career in sustainability, and then before now pivoting to leadership position for mission-driven startup. So, and using geospatial as as part of their mission. Inclusion is important for her because she's got a focus of her day job and her extracurricular as a board member and investor, and she knows what it is to kind of bring together people from different communities. She's going to talk about how S2S weather forecasting is helping organizations gather insight and make actionable decisions to adapt to climate change. So over to you, Laura.
Thank you for the intro, Olive. As you say, I'm Laura, I lead operations at Salient, and I am delighted to be here today. I did not come up through geospatial. Like you said, I started my career as a sustainability officer back in the mid-2000s when that was just becoming a thing, and then pivoted to mission-driven startup work about 5 years ago. And I'm delighted to be a part of the geospatial community now. I want to talk about two things today. One, what we do at Salient, and then two, why it matters. So let's go there now. What do? We are on a mission to forecast further in service of resiliency as climate-driven weather volatility increases. I do want to note that we are a venture-backed for-profit company, which means that we have to point towards profitability as we do this. But that creates a very cool opportunity to do well by doing good. And one of my favorite things to think about is how we can use our tech as a force for good. That's what we're up to. What is S2S weather forecasting? Let me just pause briefly to introduce it. So look at that gray bar in the middle there. S2S, seasonal to sub-seasonal, is weather forecasting 2 weeks to 52 weeks ahead, 2 weeks to 1 year. Anything less than that in our world is called weather, 1 to 14 days. And anything beyond that in our world, past a year, is called climate. And so Salient is predicting precipitation, temperature, wind, and solar radiance as our primary variables, with a whole bunch of derived variables on this 2 to 52 week time horizon. There's more info here than you need, but that's the basics. How do you do that? Everyone always asks. Let me briefly tell you our company's origin story, which is that our co-founder, Ray Schmidt, who's an oceanographer, had a hypothesis years ago that you could correlate ocean salinity with precipitation, because where the ocean is saltier than normal, that's because a bunch of water has evaporated that's going to come down later somewhere else. Ray's at the tail end of his scientific career, but he got his sons to build a computer model that correlates ocean salinity and precipitation. And they entered their forecasting model in the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation Forecasting Rodeo, which is an S2S weather forecasting competition. They delivered a precipitation forecast week on week for a year, won in the precipitation category, took the prize money, eventually hired the person that won in the temperature category, and started the company. So that's where we began. Here's a look under the hood. Of course, it's a lot more complicated than that now, but basically what we're doing is taking lots of different ocean, land, and atmospheric variables, feeding them through a machine learning engine, and spitting out our product layers. I'll say that our product is quite sophisticated in terms of probabilistic forecasts with all sorts of skill weighting and backtesting and et cetera. My team could geek out with you for days on that. But the major takeaway here is that machine learning is unlocking all kinds of new possibilities in what has historically been a desert of predictability. Okay, why does this matter? How can we use this tech as a force for good? There are three threads that I want to talk about inside that question. The first is with the energy transition. The grid has always been dependent on weather for demand. When it is hot, we need increased electricity for cooling. When it is cold, we need both electricity and gas for heating. But as we transition globally to an increasingly renewable powered electricity grid, the grid is becoming more weather dependent on the supply side too. When the sun shines, solar panels make electricity. When the wind blows, turbines generate electricity. When it rains, more water goes over dams and creates hydropower. And when the inverse of those things happen, it's cloudy, the wind doesn't blow, there's drought, we don't generate as much electricity as we planned. And so as the grid becomes increasingly dependent on weather, on both the supply and the demand side, it becomes increasingly dependent on weather forecasts. And that's where Salient's helping. Another thread in which we can use this technology for good is agricultural resilience. Salient works with both big agribusinesses like Anheuser-Busch or AB InBev on their barley sourcing strategy. I pulled this slide. They're a company that we can speak about publicly that we're working with. And we're helping them think about their barley sourcing in the Midwestern region of the United States, because when it's a wet year, barley quality is bad. And when it's a dry year, barley quantity is compromised. So big agribusinesses protecting our beer, but we're also able to help smallholder farmers. We're partnering with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to make our S2S weather forecasts better in the East Africa region of the world and accessible to smallholder farmers. The third thread that I want to talk about is the one that's closest to home, which is what kind of company are we building and what is the culture like inside our team? Like any organization that cares about diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, we have growing edges, but I'm proud of us in a couple ways in particular. This is our team, and we come from an incredibly diverse set of professional backgrounds and have all kinds of different opinions internally. And that leads to a really robust culture of discourse. We also have a powerful set of company values that govern our culture of inclusion. And that's on the big stuff like equitable pay and inclusive hiring practices, but that's also on the small stuff like rotating meeting leadership facilitation and a really active shout outs channel internally. So I think we do a pretty good job with inclusion. And I want to end with just a little clip of that in action. This is us at our most recent team retreat in Colorado, snow tubing. And in my mind, a team that's able to play together in an inclusive way like this can also work together inclusively, both internally and externally. So that's it. Thank you for having me and would love to be connected on LinkedIn. Please reach out.
Thanks, Laura. Fascinating. I love the YouTube video at the end, or the tubing, whatever it's called. I don't know. I've never done that. That's great. So thank you. Because of the time, I will shoot off to our second speaker today. So that's Tatiana de Freitas. She's from Belém in the state of Pará in Brazil. She's a professor and researcher at the Federal Institute of Education, Science and Technology of Pará State. She is one of the Geospatial World 50 Rising Stars for this year. So congratulations, Tatiana. Also, she's the founder of the women-led mapping group Meninas da Rio, I don't know how you say it, a network to support and empower girls and women in the STEM fields. And if you don't know about them, I'm actually putting the I'm going to put the link on the chat as well after. But Tatiana is going to talk about how she uses mapping and geoprocessing technologies as an education strategy to achieve the SDG 5, which is the Sustainable Development Goals from the United Nations about gender equality. So over to you, Tatiana. I think you've got a video to help you through, which is because you then do it in Portuguese, but there's subtitles as well. So I think for all to see, we are waiting for the video. Thank you.
Olá, tudo bem? Eu sou a Tatiana Pará, sou professora do IFPA e participo de diversas atividades voltadas para as geotecnologias aqui no estado do Pará, na Amazônia. Sou agrônoma de formação, tenho mestrado em desenvolvimento rural e sou doutoranda em ciências ambientais aqui no estado do Pará. Hoje eu quero trazer para vocês um pouquinho da experiência do nosso grupo chamado Meninas da Geo e as ações que a gente está criando para o empoderamento de meninas e mulheres na Amazônia através das geotecnologias. O nosso grupo ele é formado por meninas e também meninos que estão participando das instituições parceiras do nosso projeto, que é o IFPA, Instituto Federal do Pará, a UFRA, Universidade Federal Rural da Amazônia, algumas outras instituições colaboradoras, os capítulos Youth Mappers, o programa Meninas Digitais da Sociedade Brasileira da Computação e as comunidades aqui da Amazônia. Então, dentro desse grande grupo de parceiros, nós temos o desenvolvimento dessas capacitações e fortalecimentos individuais e coletivos para esses alunos e alunas que estão aqui no nosso grupo e, posteriormente, levamos para as comunidades ribeirinhas, quilombolas, indígenas, as capacitações de geotecnologias para que a gente possa, juntos e juntas, fazer o empoderamento e a equidade de gênero nas áreas de STEM, que são as áreas de ciência, tecnologia, engenharia e matemática. Como atividade, nós trabalhamos em ciclos de ações. E esses ciclos de ações passam pela pesquisa e pelo mapeamento, que ocorrem tanto dentro das instituições como em campo. Então, nós levamos esses grupos de mulheres e meninas para o campo para fazer os aperfeiçoamentos do uso de drone, do uso de GPS, do uso de estação total, do uso de software livres, do uso do diálogo com a comunidade para que a geotecnologia fortaleça o empoderamento territorial. Então, conhecer o espaço é o nosso ponto principal. Temos também como ação as formações. Então, a formação ela é o ponto-chave para o desenvolvimento dessa juventude. Então, nós criamos workshops, nós criamos oficinas, minicursos, treinamentos, desenvolvimento pessoal, para que essas pessoas estejam cada vez mais próximas das geotecnologias e que elas possam futuramente replicar a metodologia de ensino das meninas da GEO para outras áreas aqui na Amazônia. Outra atividade muito interessante é o mapeamento através do treinamento de cursos para as trilhas ecológicas. Então, usar a Amazônia como um elemento de conhecer, um elemento de entender, um elemento de empoderamento, ele é muito importante. E para que a gente desenvolva potencialidades, inclusive empreendedoras, nós precisamos mapear os nossos espaços para que a gente possa preservar a floresta, para que a gente possa mitigar as problemáticas das mudanças climáticas. Uma ação que a gente também trabalha é a ação voltada para o uso de aplicativos móveis, considerando a dificuldade que a gente tem de acesso a computador, acesso à internet. Então, os aplicativos, eles são uma ferramenta para a instrução e o treinamento de geotecnologias no nosso grupo. Outra ação muito importante é usar os softwares livres, a exemplo do QGIS, para elaborar cartografia e mapeamento e assim a gente reconhecer o nosso território e, consequentemente, criar parcerias entre as nossas instituições e os nossos grupos. Ações voltadas para as comunidades é o nosso ponto principal, né, que é determinado no projeto. Então, aqui a gente tem um exemplo de uma comunidade no arquipélago do Marajó, na comunidade Paraíso, onde nós levamos o curso a quase 500 quilômetros daqui da capital de Belém, por um barco que viajou cerca de 12 horas para que a gente chegasse nessa localidade e para que a gente pudesse, enfim, levar conhecimento do empoderamento e discutir sobre a importância do território. Uma outra ação importante foi no território indígena, com o uso de GPS, o uso de drone, o uso de QGIS, para que as comunidades e a juventude indígena também possa reconhecer o seu território através da geotecnologia. Então, é uma ação muito importante que a gente vem trabalhando. Também temos, né, uma ação com os capítulos Youth Mappers. Nós somos um capítulo de mapeamento colaborativo aqui na Amazônia e a gente trabalha, então, com as mulheres ribeirinhas aqui da nossa região, através dessa ilha chamada Ilha de Pilatos, que era uma ilha que ela não estava mapeada no OpenStreetMaps, e nós fizemos a inserção através da oficina e das capacitações de uso do software livre OpenStreetMaps. E aqui a gente tem um exemplo muito interessante do que foi produzido lá, e eu agradeço a atenção de vocês, estou aqui à disposição para perguntas, quero convidar vocês para vir conhecer presencialmente, pessoalmente, o nosso projeto, o Estado do Pará e a Amazônia. Muito obrigada. Thank you.
Obrigada, Chaitanya. So that's very inspiring, I think, the fact that you're doing all this work as well as your normal work as well, which is probably why you are a rising star, basically. So well done, and make sure you enjoy that as well for the whole year to come. I'll pass on to Özge now, who joins us from Turkey. Özge has got a background in lots of things in GIS, aviation, urban planning, navigation, to name a few. She's now the lead. She leads the GIS and technology team for NeedsMap. NeedsMap is a non-profit international organization who harness technology for social good. So this is a good fit. One thing that Oscar said when we met before today was that she always dreamed to make maps that everyone can benefit from and feel good from. So, and basically that's what she can do now. So she's going to talk to you about the work that she's done supporting the needs of the 6th of February earthquake in Turkey last year. So over to you, Tatiana. Özge, sorry.
Dear Olive, thank you very much for this perfect and impactful introduction. I will basically, do you see my screen? Perfect, thank you. I'm Özge Acar from Turkey. And I am the technology and geomatics team leader of NeedsMap. I'm geomatics engineer, and geospatial for social impact is exactly what we are doing. So that's my content, and I will briefly tell you what's needs map, social impact of needs map, and recent topics we work on, maps on websites, solutions for disasters, and inspiring inclusion. NewsMap is a social cooperative launched in 2015 and connects supporters with people whose needs are affirmed through its technology. It facilitates cooperation and solidarity in different areas, different SDG areas. Now I'm gonna describe you what they are. Describe what they are. It's a non-profit platform cooperative. And this is our main website, newsmap.com, ihtiyaçharitası.org in Turkish. And here, the people are verified by their citizenship number and sign in this website and enter what they need. Then we, by phone, we verify it, and by phone and by various sources, we verify it and we release it on the map. Then supporters sign in as well and support the people and send what they need. And we confirm that both of them. Then we close the need. Here at the screen, you see mostly the school needs. Book need for our school, computer need for our school, etc., etc. Then we have this is our social impact, and this is from 2000 at the end of 2022 because we were all busy with the big earthquake in 2023, and we literally had no time to count what we have done, but we guess that more than 40 million transaction is passed from our side with connecting the people in need and the supporters as for this year. And we have lots of products. We have plenty of products with map infrastructure. And now I'm going to describe, I'm going to share with you what they are, basically what they are. One of them is disaster management and disaster mapping. As you know, disasters have three phases: before disaster, during disaster, and after disaster. We are all in these three solutions, in these three periods. Before disaster, we warn people for predictions, and we get some APIs from various sources, and we prepare screens, and we try to pre-warn the people for the effects. And during disaster, in 3 days, we fastly go to the field and try to understand what the real needs, and we try to map the current situation. And after disaster, we have some resilience plans and projects. This is in a project for needs women. This is a job and job scholarship and education portal for need women. And any institution can enter job description to here, and we connect them with the women in need. This is our. I think it's a kind of inclusion because this map is a job finding map for anyone affected by earthquake. This is a special website with map infrastructure who are affected by earthquake, and so they have unfortunately a disadvantage. And the institutions and the corporates, especially, have job opportunities for people who are affected by earthquakes, so the people can find a suitable job here. And this is education, children and girls mapping. This is a an example of collaboration with the other NGOs that here in this map there are more than 45 layers indicating the schools, the girls, the ratio of girls in how can I say, in we say mahalle, but a small part of provinces, let's say the minimal part of provinces, we have ratios, data, so that the researchers can make lots of analytics from here and decide what they should do for education and for the girls and the children. And this is another website for women cooperatives, maps and database in all Turkey. And this is a volunteer map and again connects to people who would like to be a volunteer and who need volunteers corporately or as NGO, and we connect them at this map as a website. And this is the sustainable goals we cover in our recent projects. And these are our websites. The main our website is in ihtiyaçharitası.org, NISMAP, which I've first described. Then this is our global website. And now we have a data challenge. You can check from the website. It is open for institutions, and we have shared our open data for which we have collected in 6 February disaster. So all of the institutions and universities can join this data challenge. And this is One Rent One Home. We have used and reproduced this website twice in earthquakes. This website is a solidarity initiative that we created with Izmir municipality. It's a bridge for people who lost their homes, and those who would like to support, they can provide rent support or they can share their homes, and we connect the people. And this is the disaster map. We have some how can I say, we aim to develop digital skills and for NGOs in public sector, and also we share predictions and we prepare maps for everyone who could benefit from it. Yes, these are the screens we prepare, screens and dashboards we prepare. And this is the employment map, as I've mentioned before, and we assess citizens affected by the earthquake here. And this is homeless map, and it is a digital ecosystem that we can understand where the homeless people are, what are their needs, and how we can strengthen them and reintegrate into society. And this is the earthquake part, finally. There was a quite huge earthquake, and nearly 12 million people affected by this earthquake. And we were at the field with our field team, and we were at the office with our office mapping and technology team. We were everywhere. And we had a solution. We had a geospatial solution for that. It was not a geospatial solution, but it could easily modify to be a geospatial solution. And we had a WhatsApp line. And this is our system, how WhatsApp line is working. We had data, the people entered their needs via WhatsApp. We verified it via call center, and we met their needs. And this is our inclusion. At the right of the screen, you will see the categories: tent, diaper, children needs, hygiene sets for men and women, and for disabled people as well. And these are supported needs by a chatbot, and we have several maps about it. And we reached more than 96,000 people via this WhatsApp chatbot and our maps. And this is our dashboard for coverage. And thank you very much for listening to me. And I celebrate everybody's International Women's Day. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Oscar. A lot of material there, all geospatial for humanitarian and disaster purpose. I'm conscious of the time, so I'm going to switch to our last speakers, last but not least. Very pleased to introduce Rohini Sampunam Swaminathan. I've known Rohini for a long time because she's been part of our founding team of Women in Geospatial. So it's great to have Rohini. And then I was lucky enough to meet her in person last August. So great to have you today. Rohini is joining us from Rome. She's a geospatial expert with a mouthful of experience, 12 years of experience in international humanitarian and development sector. She's currently the head of geospatial support unit for the UN World Food Programme. She previously worked for the UNICEF, World Health Organization, NASA, you name it, she's probably worked for them. But anyway, if you haven't seen, my little plug is that if you haven't seen Rohini's TEDx talk, please do. It's fascinating. It's one of my favorite TEDx. So I will also put it on the chat after. But for now, I'll let Rohini talk to us about the ADAM system, which stands for Advanced Disaster Analysis and Mapping System. So go ahead, Rohini, over to you.
All right, let me see. I hope you all can see my screen.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. My laptop is not behaving today, so I am not sure why it's having so much trouble, but let me try again.
You could see it.
Yep. Okay. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. Really, I am very, very excited to be here and to be part of the group, which is one of my favorite groups of all. So my presentation is going to focus on what I call mapping the way to aid. I currently work as the head of the Geospatial Support Unit here at the UN World Food Programme. I am not sure if you are able to see it in a slideshow mode, but I'm going to try and continue. So how does WFP respond to emergencies? We move a lot with 140 aircrafts, 20 ships, 6,000 plus trucks, and whatever weird looking thing innovatively we have now called SHERPs. And I don't know how many of those we have, irrespective of how we try to move. And one of the things that I wanted to show today is where we move. It's across the world, as you see, with the 6 regional bureaus we have and 125 country offices. It's some of the most difficult conditions that one can imagine in many of the complex contexts that WFP still tries to move food aid around the world. And we collect a lot of data in order for us to help us understand where the vulnerability is higher and how do we go from data to information to decision is where our unit, where geospatial plays quite an important role. Even if we collect all these diverse data sets around the world, we still struggle to answer some of the basic questions that you might imagine because they are asked in some of the complicated places around, right? How many people should we worry about before an event happens, after an event happens, and can we reach them by road, by air, by sea, whatever means, by donkeys? Even if we reach them, can the people who need the assistance reach the places where we are providing the assistance to? And where are these locations around the world? And once our operations are done, is there a way to monitor and try to understand the impact that our operations have on the field? So first question that the philosophy that I go with is everything happens somewhere. I think all of us would agree on that point here on why geospatial is so important. But how do we know where? And most of us might assume like it's 2023. Oops, it's 2024. I'm still in 2023. We would imagine everywhere should be on the map, right? Like we should be able to open Google Maps and we should see every single point. My pizza place in my little town in India is now on the map. But this is an example of our sub office in Republic of Congo, between the border between DRC and ROC. And I was there not very long ago. That's a screenshot from Google Maps. Probably asks the question, it seems only one road goes there. This is Bing Maps, absolutely empty, just shows the Congolese forest. And the question we have is, can we locate every road, every airport, every port, every point on Earth that we need to know to get to people? And can we do that automatically? And that's what we try to do. This is the map that we have internally, and that even maps out the deforestation routes that is illegally built, but unfortunately sometimes it's also used as humanitarian route when a major emergency happens. And that's the one single big thing that we do, is to collect this massive amount of data in places where data doesn't exist. And of course, we do this with support with the open community, OpenStreetMaps, and communities around the world. And the second point is, everyone is at risk for something. And COVID has shown us that, and there is no person on this planet who is completely devoid of risk. And the question that comes to us is, how do you know who is at risk? How do we probabilistically estimate for individual hazards from floods, landslides, earthquakes, cyclones, complex emergencies, which is even harder to plot and map? And we try our level best to produce flood hazard maps, which is very simple, and add food insecurity as a vulnerability to identify where people at risk are. And this is one example of Congo. It has soon become my favorite country, so I'm a bit biased today, but I have more examples from diverse part of the world. And in understanding, even before something happens, where is that we should start, where in this big context that we work with. And geospatial technology plays a very crucial role in emergency preparedness at this point. And then the next part, what happens is, everyone needs an alert when something is happening. And I grew up in a small island between India and Sri Lanka, which was ravaged with cyclones every year. And growing up, alerts weren't even a thing. People will look outside from the sea and say, oh, maybe it's going to rain today, and maybe it's a cyclone that is pulling in. So how do we know when, and how early is early enough for us to be able to prepare? How do we automate these things? Because we have to release these alerts for different hazards for the entire world. And how do we disseminate these alerts to everywhere in the world? And that is part of what we do, part of what ADAM stands for Advanced Disaster Analysis and Mapping. And for the risk, it's ADAM Preparedness. And here's ADAM Early Warning, again, Congo. We try to integrate data from diverse data sources into one place, which is easy for people to understand. A couple of weeks before an event happens, to give them a heads up saying, oh, hey, I see that Central African Republic is already flooding, and there is a good chance it's going to come down the river and Congo is going to get flooded. And this small piece of information, which is possible to be produced geospatially and mapped, it's very difficult to pass that information to all the levels that is needed. But I think it's already the first step, where automatically we can produce this information for everywhere around the world now. And it's inevitable that something is going to happen, and we would have to come back in response mode and say, everybody needs support, no matter who it is, when an event happens. And I'm going to follow Özge here and give an example of how we responded to the Turkish Syria emergency as well. When an event of that scale happens, that's why preparedness becomes so crucial, that we already have this massive list of data sets on where everything is logistically. But then we need to understand, even if there is an airport, even if there is a port, is it still operational? Is it still useful? And how do we conduct that analysis at a large scale to cover, 200 districts in Turkey alone within a couple of days after an event? So we use a lot of satellite data, especially radar data, to understand at scale where this is just a day or two after an event, quickly to understand where the majority of hazard is. And it's not going to be perfect. It will never be. So every meeting I would go to, I would actually start the meeting saying, this is the best wrong estimate I have today. But that wrong estimate is the best we can to start our operations. And geospatial data plays a very, very, very crucial role that moment right after an event. 2 weeks later, yes, you will have a lot more information from the ground that would have been collected, but satellites play an incredible role here. In recent times, we also started aggregating data sets that are not very traditional, like the population movement in Facebook. This was incredible. This is the first time I myself used it operationally, where every day we would watch where the percentage of people are moving. In some cities, people are moving only towards the north. Some cities, people are moving around the city, leaving the urban areas. And this helped us to advise or inform the ground team that maybe our community municipal kitchen should be in the north because there are no people in the south immediately. And they can correlate with additional information that they get from the ground to be able to make a more informed decision. But having all of these layers in a single place really enables people to think spatially, think differently in managing that response and make very, very, very quick decisions. And then we start relying on, optical satellite data and more information on access constraint. If the airport is open, port is open, will eventually start trickling in. And the Turkish government did an incredible job in bringing all the ground image assessment, which I have never seen before, in 2 or 3 weeks. Then we were able to replace it. But giving a geospatial context to complex emergencies really help people to make more informed decisions in analyzing all the different aspects. In this, just to summarize, because I know that's a lot of information, 6 months before something happens, we prepare, we see where the risks are. 2 weeks, 1 week before a cyclone or a flood happens, we try to produce as much early warning as possible to give a heads up, this is coming, let's do whatever we can in this limited time we have. Immediately after, then we start aggregating data from 17 different sources as much as we can in producing all these different response products. So that's kind of a gist of what we do. And one question I was thinking about while I have to make this presentation is, what does inclusion mean in all this, right? Like anybody can do this work. And I think there was one startling point in last year when it hit me why this is so much more important, although of course I have always known. So we go from mapping floods in Pakistan at scale to counting cows in South Sudan with satellite data. There's just nothing that we will, no stones unturned. But when I was in Congo and I have my fancy Adam map with all colorful pictures saying, oh, this is going to happen here, this is going to happen here. And the field office comes back to me and say, but Rohini, we don't have color ink in our printer. I never thought about that. I grew up in a forest in India myself with no electricity, no big infrastructure around me. But even me, I didn't think about there is no color ink and my map is colorful. That made no sense when it was printed in black and white. That is one of the main reasons why inclusion matters, because inclusion gives diversity in thinking, which we lose because, yes, of course, after living in the better part of the world, luckily for me, I don't think about the constraints of not having good internet anymore. My videos don't buffer. My printer always have coloring. And that diversity in thinking comes with inclusion, having an inclusive environment that can adapt to different cultures, right? So I can't be offended when somebody in a different culture wants to talk to older men, but I think it also helps to bring that in context and trying to bring all the different cultures together in there. It definitely improves efficiency, no questions asked for me, I think, when we have a diverse team. And it helps us to adopt a lot. So I think in the geospatial world, as we move forward, we need to continue thinking about why inclusion matters and how that translates into our products. Yeah, let me pause there, and I think I am absolutely excited to be part of this conversation and this group, and looking forward to working together with many of you. And I'll leave my LinkedIn in the chat if you would like to connect later. Over to you, Olive.
Thank you. And yes, thanks for reminding us that about not being complacent and not forgetting what we take for granted, to think about those that don't think like us, basically. So thanks for that. So I'd like to thank all the panelists for your contributions. What I found great was that it showed very varied ways and views and perspective on how geospatial technology and data can support inclusion, and or I think is important, a diverse society. But actually the consistency in all this variety, which obviously is all about diversity, so we like having a diverse view. But there was a consistent thread that was about, it's all about the supporting piece, supporting each other, the next generation in preparedness for future events, such as, you know, disasters, climate resilience, contributing to a more sustainable society, basically. So that was the kind of common thread. And there's one thing that I've noticed when as director, when I was a director in the Women in Geospatial community, is that our community, we don't just do geospatial because it's geospatial. We actually do it because we know we can do
to a more sustainable society.
Sorry, we've got someone on the line. Can you put please your mute, please? Yeah, I was just going to say that it's about geospatial because we know we can do good for it. We've got this kind of commitment and drive for doing well, creating a better world. So I'll this is the hand of my hosting. I've incredibly enjoyed being here and feel incredibly honored to have met all these amazing women, new and old friends. And I will pass on to Emily now, who will wrap up. Emily is our event manager, and she will wrap up the call. So thank you all, and then I'll leave you here.
Thanks, Olive. As Olive said, my name is Emily. I am the events co-lead with Women in Geospatial. Since we only have a little bit of time left, if anyone has any quick questions, maybe we can answer one or two of them. So please write them in the chat if there's anything you'd like to ask to the four presenters today. Oh, okay. I don't see anything in the chat. So,
Emily, I would just love to hear from my fellow panelists what you think the biggest opportunity is for women who are coming up now and into geospatial. Maybe they're in school now or they'd like to be in this field. What's the opportunity?
great question.
If I may come in, Laura, that's a very good question, and we see more and more women coming into the geospatial, and I'm glad in a way that there is more awareness on how important it is to have this diverse representation for them. So more than before, that instead of worrying about having to prove oneself, because a lot of times even I myself were questioned on my credibility just because, quote unquote, oh, a diverse candidate is why the reason that they have to come in. But I think women who are coming in now have room to be themselves and focus more on the work itself. I see that environment changing little by little, but it will take time. And I think the biggest opportunity for them is to keep focusing on the contribution they can make to the geospatial tech in general. And I'm quite excited for them.
Hi, everyone. This is Maria Sanchez. I just wanted to say thank you for the presentation. It's wonderful to see you all here because I haven't been around so many women in geospatial. So this makes me so happy, and thank you very much. Yes, I think I needed this because I'm trying to come up with some project myself, and I didn't know where to start. But seeing you guys, it really is inspiring. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. And thank you all for joining us wherever you are in the world. Happy we were able to have this International Women's Day event, connecting everyone together and learning from each other. The official theme for International Women's Day this year is Inspire Inclusion. So I believe in our world of maps and data, that also means mapping out spaces where everyone's story matters. So for this event, we wanted to bring attention to also the human component, including people's way of life and well-being and how people interact with each other on a day-to-day basis. So things that are measurable, but also perceived and experienced by people, and how women like these four remarkable ones we just listened to are using geospatial applications to create that social impact within societies. Before we wrap up, I know we have a minute left. We do want to bring our community to the next level. For this, we do need help to migrate and centralize our activities to a professional community management platform. We started a fundraising campaign. So if you like our work and what we do, please consider donating. There will be a link in the chat. Your contribution means a lot and helps us make our community stronger, and amplifies our networking opportunities and collaboration. So I believe that'll be dropped in the chat. And yeah, thank you for everyone that made this possible. And by you coming here today is the support and connection that we need in working towards creating a more resilient communities, as well as spaces that foster a sense of belonging and empowerment between people. So yeah, thank you guys, and hope to see you at a future event.
Lovely to be here. Thank you so much for hosting.
Thank you again.
Thank you for your hosting. It was great to be here. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.